Thank you very much, Simon. It's a great pleasure to be here at this historic point in your career path, and indeed to be part of such a panel of such eminent experts on the EU. It's also great to see such an impressive turnout. It's not always easy in the UK to generate interest in the EU's development work, and this can be frustrating, as we know what an incredibly important leadership role the EU has to play on development, and with wider support, it has the potential to be even more dynamic force for change. So thanks very much to everybody for coming. It's very much appreciated, and I hope that you will get a lot out of this morning's discussions. Just talking about Simon, I think today's event is a really powerful testament to Simon. And he combines fantastic knowledge and understanding of the EU with formidable powers of communication and persuasion, as those close to him and around him will know. And he's been able, through force of personality and intellect, to generate the real interest in this topic, not only today, and in the last couple of days, but throughout the time at the helm of the ODI. So many thanks to you, Simon, for that. I think we owe you a lot. As Simon said, yesterday, development ministers from the UK and from Sweden, together with many other senior officials and experts from a range of European countries, met here in this room for some extremely productive discussions about the evolution of European development cooperation. The meeting took place under Chatham House rules, but it's no secret to say that there was a great amount of determination in the room to take up the challenges and the opportunities that 2009 presents. And there's a real sense, I think, of an opportunity being seized to further boost the EU's development effectiveness and its impact at this incredibly important time. Can I just also pay a tribute, as Simon did, to the work of Jean-Michel Severino and his colleagues in the Agence Française de Développement, the AFD. They were the ones who really gripped the opportunity last December in Hermenonville to kick-start this initiative, to build momentum for further improvements to the European aid architecture, and we're very pleased to be following their lead here today. The UK set out its vision last year for the further reform of EU development cooperation in our EU institutional strategy paper, which was launched last July by Douglas Alexander, my Secretary of State. And in this, we talked about the improvements to the aid provided by the Commission. And for the UK, which for a long period had a reputation of being quite harsh in its criticism of the Commission's aid performance, it has been really gratifying to see the huge progress that there has been in the quality and delivery of Commission aid over the last few years. Financial commitment and disbursement rates increase year on year. The EC also makes increasingly consistent use of monitoring and evaluation systems with a strong focus on country ownership. Year on year, project monitoring feedback keeps on improving as well. And there's also a growing and welcome awareness in the EC of the need to focus on results and outcomes and not solely on inputs. But as with all of this, and DFID, no exception of course, there's room for improvement. Despite progress in delivering aid, the current Commission structures create challenges to a joined-up approach for development. Responsibility for Africa, the Caribbean and the Pacific is separated from that for other developing countries, for example in Asia and Latin America, and inevitably that kind of fragmentation across regions reduces effectiveness. We would like to see a stronger European voice for development by bringing together responsibility for programs in all developing countries under the auspices of a single and strong development commissioner. And we'd like to see greater decentralization of decision-making to the EU's delegations in developing countries, helping to ensure policies always reflect the needs on the ground. And these changes are possible this autumn when a new Commission comes in and when the EU decides how to move forward with or without ratification of the Lisbon Treaty. The UK has supported the Lisbon Treaty, and we believe it's good for development. If ratified, it'll ensure that tackling poverty is the primary focus of EU development cooperation. It will legally enshrine the principles of impartiality, non-discrimination and neutrality for EU humanitarian aid, and it should provide greater coherence across EU external actions through a High Representative of the Union for Foreign Affairs and Security Policy. Our institutional strategy paper also signalled the increased importance for the EU of embracing policies that go beyond aid. The EU has played a leadership role in trade, in climate change, and on peace and security. We need to build on that leadership role. It's an incredibly important part of the added value that Europe provides, both through strengthened policies in all these areas and through ensuring that the right institutional setup in Brussels is in place, one that puts development concerns at the heart of the Commission's work. And as Simon said, this year, with all the institutional changes afoot, a new Parliament, a new Commission, a decision on a new treaty, this provides us with a golden opportunity to do just that. Of course, since we launched our institutional strategy paper last year, there have been seismic changes in the global economy. The world has suffered a major financial crisis and resulting economic downturn, and developing countries are suffering profoundly from the impact of the financial crisis. Sources of finance, remittances, exports, aid and capital flows are all being affected. We expect remittances to fall by $20 billion next year, and the volume of world trade in goods and services to fall by almost 9%. This can have a devastating effect on people's lives. Indeed, the World Bank estimates that 3 million more children may die between now and 2015 if the crisis persists. Our aims for European development cooperation are therefore even more important to us and even more urgent. We need to prove that every pound, euro and dollar is well managed and well spent, and that the wider policies that impact on the lives of poor people are harnessed for development aims. Maintaining support for development amongst our electorate in Europe is even more vital now, at precisely the moment when making the case for it is even more difficult, with people's attention focused on problems closer to home. So it's even more important than ever that we are able first to explain to our respective publics how it's in our shared interests to tackle poverty and insecurity wherever it occurs, whether near a home or in poorer countries further away. And second, to demonstrate that all development actors, all of us, are working together coherently towards the Millennium Development Goals, towards making a real and measurable difference to poor people's lives. The EU has played a strong role in agreeing a package to deal with the financial crisis inside its borders. We want it to play an equally strong role in addressing the effects of the crisis on poorer countries. The Commission has set out concrete steps in the so-called April package, its annual proposal for action on development. This draws on the significant outcomes of the G20 summit held earlier this month here in London, outcomes which had a direct impact or will have a direct impact on poor countries. We will be working with our member state colleagues to ensure that this is translated into a significant EU-wide agreement at the Development Ministers' meeting in May. And this will need to include reaffirmation of EU promises on aid volumes and on its commitments on more effective aid made at the Accra conference last year, but also agreement on how to accelerate the delivery of assistance to poor countries which have been badly hit by the crisis. The EU is the world's largest provider of aid, some 60% of total ODA, the world's largest single market, and the most significant trading partner for developing countries. It is a strong, impressive and powerful entity when it, the Commission and the Member States together work cohesively. I look forward to hearing your thoughts this morning, as well as those of my fellow panel members, on how European aid can be best managed to meet the MDGs in the face of current global challenges. And if it wasn't already, I hope your interest will be raised by this event and you will continue the discussion about the EU's role in development within each of your communities and organisations, and we'll be very pleased to hear the feedback of your views. Thanks very much.